I will try to be short in the sake of time, but yeah, shortly, I represent FERN. I'm a European forest campaigner at NGO FERN, which is dedicated to protect the forest and people who depend on forest primarily in EU policy context. And on, I'm trying to give you a little bit of a perspective from the like EU side of things. First of all, I would want to emphasize that although forests do play an important role in Europe, and Europe is fairly highly forested part of the world, and it has been mentioned that it's one of the only parts where the forest area is expanding. Its forests are not doing that well in the end of the day. If you look at the uh, environmental indicators, we see the decline in the forest carbon sink throughout Europe. We look at the habitat directive reporting. We see that the forest habitats are not in a good state. We still destroy our last remaining old growth forests, and also ecosystem integrity index wise, we are the worst forests in the world compared to other parts of the world. So there is a lot of work to be done to improve this, because it matters not only from the perspective of these species that depend on the forest, but it also matters for the resilience of the forest, and also the economies related to the forests. Although we've seen fairly high levels of harvests in last decades, we actually do see the jobs going down in the forest sector as well, and that's making the exercise of improving the conditions, improving the economy, and preserving environment at the same time fairly difficult. But we do see a hope in the recent law that passed the political cycles in Brussels, the nature restoration law that was also mentioned earlier. And it's important to keep in mind that on one hand, it deals with the forests that are described in Habitat Directive, and there is a lot to be done in strict protection of the forest. But on the other hand, it also contains an article on improving ecological indicators for the managed forest. And in that space, we do see hope for European forests, because all the countries in Europe need to set targets to different indicators and actually have measures to improve forests outside of protected areas as well. And we've been exploring the realities of these problems for a few years now. Last year, we did talk to quite a few foresters who practice close to nature forestry. And we wanted to understand their financial needs. And it was quite surprising that many of these practitioners said that they don't need subsidies. Their operations are competitive, but what they see is that since the bad practices, the clear cutting, the monocultures are so heavily reliant on subsidies, just getting rid of these harmful ones is something that would give them a stronger position in the market, and would fully help their model to prosper. This year we gone a bit further, and we've commissioned an academic to research this area for us, and we clearly find that there is enough money being spent as bioenergy subsidies or gap forestry measures or state programs throughout the Europe that at the moment goes to either to support harmful practices or is spent in a way where you can't really tell what the money is spent for. And redesigning these schemes would clearly allow investment in transition costs. If you work with fairly degraded or very even stands, to transition towards close to nature, where really a diverse structure is a must, and also to invest in counseling foresters and forest owners, and there is enough of that existing to support this transition that we really need from the perspective of this law, but also from the perspective of our economies. And then there is a lot of talk about nature credits, carbon credits in EU circles these days as a source of funding for transition. But if you really look at the historic perspective and the history of these initiatives, it has been a constant failure, and therefore I encourage Romania also to look to the countries where a wise use of public money is actually providing a very helpful transformation in terms of both the ecological and economical resilience. And two last quick points to save time. One was on forest monitoring. There is a law being discussed at Europe at the moment about establishing a European framework for forest monitoring. I do see this as a very important point also in terms of investment and incentives. The European Investment Bank has pointed out that the main obstacle in driving investment towards forestry is actually the lack of transparent information and like well understood, well established metrics. This law clearly has a potential to help a lot in that space, but it has to be thorough, it has to be functional for this to happen. And another point quickly I wanted to make was around bioeconomy, which is also a huge topic in Brussels these days. I think when this is discussed quite often, we talk about modern biotechnology, new innovation, and with no doubt that is very important. But I think when we talk about the bioeconomy, we should not also forget the traditional knowledge and local traditional use, because it is a very unique and important part of the bioeconomy that has still a huge potential to contribute to the rural livelihoods if that remains a high priority for policy, then neglecting the needs of traditional practitioners would be a huge mistake. With that, I would conclude, and I wish you all a very fruitful discussion. Thank you.
We thank you, Siim. Bye-bye.